Well, good morning, and hello as you're watching the replay. We're just kind of getting the room warmed up. We've got some ladies coming into the room, but we're just going to just talk about how has disruption shown up. You had the amazing interactive masterclass, the interactive gathering a month ago, and this is the Women's Leadership Council of the C-Suite Network. Welcome. How about a little sparkle fingers from everybody? Woo-hoo. Yes. Yes. So Teresa, welcome. So glad you're here. And we're all coming in the room. Andrea, welcome. Glad you're here. Yeah. So how's disruption been showing up for you? Like, part of disruption is being laser-like, right? Like kind of getting in and getting out. What's been showing up? Do share. And we'll start our program here in just a moment. Teresa, we always know you've got something about disruption. Come on, bring it, lady.
Of course. So the thing that I'm disrupting is my own pattern of busy without regard for deliberate care for myself.
Excellent.
And did the workshop of acumen, and it was amazing. And I walked away with 3 really important things. And one of them was I am making all of my appointments, my mammogram, my colonoscopy, my eye exam, all of those things. So I'm disrupting my pattern of not taking care of myself.
Great. Because you know what? Disruptors unite, and we must have the good energy, the good health to be doing this.
Yes, we need you to take care of yourself.
Yes. Thank you, Teresa. Yes. Good. So who's next? How has disruption been showing up for you in a positive way, maybe a challenging way? And then we'll start our program. Deb, you're always disrupting.
I know. I think I was born being disruptive. I've been getting back to doing some regular stuff. I got on an airplane.
Oh my gosh. We remember those things.
I know. And sat next to a total stranger. I mean, now that was a little spooky, but you'll love this. Early morning flight, 7 a.m. And it was an older gentleman. He sits down, he's got his breakfast. Of course, we're all masked. And he says to me, I've had my shots, but please know if it will bother you for me to take my mask off to eat, I will not eat.
Oh my gosh.
And it was just like, but yeah, I mean, it was, and of course I said, oh, please, and I told him, I said, I've had my shots too. I said, but please, don't eat. But I was so touched by the fact that he even said something. But yeah, so yeah, it's been good.
Wow. Yeah. The power of being disruptive helps other people disrupt their programs. And also what we're also about is creating a container, creating an environment of compassion, caring, love, not disruption for the sake of just being a jerk, but like there's a purpose for it. Yes. So how about if we just jump in, shall we? And then we'll do some more sharing. Sheila, welcome. So glad you're here. Always the disruptor in so many awesome, stylish, and branding ways. Very nice. Good. So thank you. And, the very cool thing about being a disruptive and powerful woman is we don't have to do it alone. Okay. So give me a little sparkle fingers, give me a little thumbs up, and you can go into reactions at the bottom, put a little heart, put a little thumbs up. And, watch yourself, and we can move the screen over, which is so cool because I get to see you too. I love this. Yeah. So we don't have to do this alone. How many of you, put it in the chat, give me a little feedback here. How many of you been for too long trying to do business, trying to do your career, trying to do your life? Yes, you've got family, you've got friends, all this, but it's been lonely sometimes for you. And so put in the chat if you can say a yes to this. And, it's part of this is coming together and having community and a sisterhood. So I so want to thank Lisa, Susan, Cristina for this amazing, amazing program that they've put together. Really, really powerful. So as we go in, and Lisa, do you want to move the slides for me? For some reason, I can't move these slides.
because I'm sharing them. You ready to go?
I am. Let's go. We have to do this with elegance. Okay, so you know me, Kathleen Caldwell, founder of the Women's Leadership Council within the C-Suite Network. You can go past this. This is not important because this is about disruption. So today is our activation masterclass. Okay, the beginning of the month on Council Day, we learn a new topic. We showcase you. This is what we want to do. We want to showcase you, and we're recording all these, and the recordings are getting a lot of traction, ladies, which is very exciting. Today is the masterclass. So we're going to welcome everyone. We've already been doing that, introducing the creators of this amazing topic today. Ladies, let's be disruptive. So we're going to do an introduction, introduce our faculty, then kind of go into what are some new insights and some new distinctions with some breakout rooms. Today is all about practical application. Okay. So if you like the idea of practical application, put a little practical application in the chat. Give me a little type, practical application. Very nice. Okay, next slide, please. Thank you. Yeah, very good. So of course, big thumbs up, big hearts. You can go in the reactions. Lisa L. Levy is part of our esteemed faculty, founder and CEO of L Cubed Consulting. She's got a best-selling book, Future Proofing Cubed, and speaker in the C-Suite Network, thought leader in the C-Suite Network, along with her sister disruptor, Susan K. Younger. You all know Susan, tremendous consultant. She is a leader in this whole new technology called the bank code. And so she's a bank iOS coach, certified and licensed bank trainer. She is an expert and a thought leader in emotional intelligence. And how do you take these attributes that you have and apply them for business and life success? And following Cristina DiGiacomo, oh my gosh, did you know, ladies, that we have a practical philosopher council that's starting? Oh my gosh. And Lisa's starting a council. Susan's investigating as well, but Cristina has a whole new branch, the world's first practical philosopher council. It's going to be extraordinary. And an author, wise up at work, awesome person. Big round of applause. Unmute yourself and let's give these ladies give them a little love here. Woo!
Woo! Oh shit.
Woo! Love it. Okay. Good. Thank you. Next slide, please. Woo!
Andrea's got some disruption going on in her space.
Yes, I did. It flew off the chair, ladies.
Okay. Andrea,
we caused such energy that it just blew right
erupted.
off.
Woo!
All right.
That's the power of this disruption and energy. Yes, exactly. Okay.
All
So
right.
yeah, jump in, Lisa, please.
If you want, I'll take it from here.
Please, I'd love it. Would you?
Absolutely. So for those of you who weren't with us before, I wanted to do a really fast recap of what we did in the first interactive gathering, because it sets the tone and it sets the context. And here, this is the reason why we're here, so that we can go into the individual breakout rooms and go deeper and actually have practical exercises, thought processes, and things that we can take to our businesses and to our personal lives to embrace and lead with disruption. Or sometimes, right, just simply respond to being disrupted, which Cristina this morning had her AC repairman in the background as we were setting things up, because she's in Manhattan, they're in the heat wave and her AC died. So, right, we're all just dealing with it as life happens, and that's what we're here for. So our story begins, we're all familiar with Socrates being the father of Western philosophy, but where did he learn his thinking? Well, guess what? Her name was Diotima. And so as women thinkers, we have a history of leading thought work. And our influence goes back in time in history and is at the cornerstone and foundation of Western philosophy, right? Socrates taught Plato, Plato taught Aristotle. These are the major influences that drive thinking in our world today. As we traveled through that, Cristina took us on this journey of, as we understand where we started and we start to embrace this disruptive mindset, our first step forward is owning we're badasses, and we need to take badassery into our world and own it, because ultimately we are the ones who have that power to change. And what is disruption if it's not simply change? We've talked in the group about a couple of types disruption from a couple perspectives. Internal disruption, the choices that we make to challenge what's going on around us, and our external disruption, be it the HVAC repairman or a camera jumping off of a stand in the middle of a session, right? Disruption happens every day. The pandemic taught us that unexpected, unwanted disruption is a minute away. It's always been a minute away. We don't know what happens when we turn a corner left or right, and being prepared to understand how we respond to that is important. So embracing the idea of disruption and being change takes away some of that power of it being bad, because it's not. It's neither good nor bad. In the course of this, I threw out a definition that I found, an author, a speaker, Charlene Lee, who is really setting the tone of what is the disruptive mindset. All right, we learned from others that her definition is so clean and crisp. Disruption is challenging the status quo to make a positive impact. It's really important that as we take on this mindset, that we remember that positive impact portion. Disruption in the form of a kid in the back of a classroom making a fuss because they don't have their homework ready and they would want the teacher to forget to collect it, right? That is disruption. That is external disruption to the teacher. That's not what we're here to talk about, right? We're wanting to do the things that make a change. We want to be Cara Golding and opening and starting Hint Water and taking on the beverage company of Coca-Cola and PepsiCo, because she wanted to drink something that was healthy and wanted to live a healthier lifestyle. It is growing into an amazing brand, and not, shameless plug, but I always have a bottle of it on my desk because we need water and it really should taste good. She's, given us a way to do that. There are other examples, but finding the female disruptor examples is very difficult. I spent March and April on a quest to sort of see where they are and find them, and it's hard. Cara was a great example. Whitney Wolfe Herd left Tinder in 2014 and started Bumble, a social app designed for women to be in control of their interactions, to make the first move. She was told by everyone she spoke to that women would never, ever do that. Bumble IPO'd for $2 billion in its initial offering in February of this year. Women, we can do anything we put our minds to. In that spirit of how do we show up? The world changed and everything was disrupted last year, and we all are learning and relearning how to interact. Last year, you may have had interactions with colleagues, friends, family members, and they showed up in a way that was uncomfortable and unfamiliar to you. It was not their normal self. Well, there's a reason for that. And Susan explained and shared with us our stress code and that behavior that we have when we are under stress and what that does to how we show up and how others show up, so that we can learn to respond to that with care and with kindness for ourselves and others. That is a really fast flyover of what we introduced in the interactive session a month ago, and that is hard to believe. Today we're here, Cristina, Susan, and myself. We're going to round robin through breakout rooms, but we're also a small group, so I could throw it out. And do we want to just do 3 time periods as a whole group? And that way, because we are small, we're small but mighty, but that way we have the power of all of our brains together. Do we like the idea of staying in a group?
I like that you're being disruptive and putting it in a different format because it serves us as a small group.
And since I did that off the cuff, my cohorts in this, are we comfortable with that? We can adapt on a dime. So I am going to take us through this in a sequence. Susan, I'd like for you to start so that you can set the tone again with the bank code and the stress code and what that means. Then I would like to give us our approach to being disruptive. And Cristina, I want you to be the wrapper around everything that gives us those practical exercises. Cool. So we are rocking and rolling. Susan, I am going to stop sharing and the floor is yours.
You don't have to do anything. I put in the chat for those who may not have already cracked their code, the link they can go to and take 90 seconds at most to look at the 4 cards that will show up on the screen. They simply have 12 words on each one of these. You're going to put them in the order of what is most like you to what is least like you. Hit the submit button with your email and it will send you a 22-page report about you. What you will see behind my name is that my bank code is NAKB, which stands for nurturing first, action second, knowledge third, blueprint in the 4th position. The 12 words that relate around each one of those give us clues on what is the best way to address a conversation to me instead of it being from your point of view. So when you think of the times that somebody has attempted to engage you in an activity, in a business conversation, in a purchase, and you've gone, whoa, they don't get me at all. They aren't speaking in your bank code. They are, chances are, either speaking to a single script that they were taught was the perfect way to present a product based on somebody else's idea of what that product is, and in no way engaging you in how you make a buy-in decision. Buy-in decisions relate to any decision you make to engage. If you think about a date, if you think about encouraging your kids to eat a meal, you are asking them to buy into an activity, you are asking them to buy into a thought process. When you're talking about working with people, you are asking employees to buy in to do the work because it serves them as much as it serves the company. And how we do that in a positive way is frequently disruptive to what has been the past present process by which frequently people are told, do it because I told you so, do it because this is my way of doing it, and not allowing them to look at how do they best solve a problem. And when we start to let people solve a problem with their twist of mind, all of a sudden you get those disruptive answers that sometimes create that opening in a blocked process that allows us to really move things forward. The stress code is your 3rd code. The stress code in mine you see is knowledge. So when I'm feeling that I'm under stress or that I don't have answers, you will find me asking lots of questions. Why would I want to do this? How does this work? I'm somebody who takes that and puts it in play with the nurturing about how do I serve my community? How do I interact with a group that I feel is trusted? Am I authentically being seen, heard, and listened to? And that action in there next wants it to be fun, wants it to be something that will make us all shine and allows us to have freedom and flexibility in creating that new order. You'll see blueprint being my last. I tend to not be worried about, did it go step by step? Was there a checklist for me to follow? Because once I've served the other 3, then I get to that. Which means if I'm talking to somebody who needs that checklist first, I have to change my way. I have to disrupt my thinking in order to address them from their point of view. So when you really think about what happened in 2020, you start to understand that people who you were used to showing up in a certain way, all of a sudden had a different twist to what they were concerned about. Were they looking for answers about something? Were they feeling trapped because they wanted freedom and flexibility and they no longer felt they had it? Did they feel disconnected from people because they were used to being with a community and having fun and they no longer had that? They were isolated in their home. Were they all compacted in a room trying to solve a problem and nobody had a checklist to fix it? You start looking at things from a different perspective when you're addressing it based on who needs what. And that's kind of my quick synopsis of all of that. And I'm happy to answer any questions or turn it over to Lisa or Cristina to kind of take you through the process and then open it for discussion afterwards.
I think that let's take a minute here and talk about, those who have done theirs. Sheila and I have the same behavioral profile. And so I love, everybody in my life knows that if I'm under stress, there's a list and we are going to work that list. And it's not done until there are check marks in the boxes. I mean, it's a list. And I built a career. My foundation of my career was in project management, which is working in my stress code by design, which is so bizarre because it put me for the first part of my career, right, off kilter, but it's how I could drive results. So I don't know if anybody else wants to share kind of some insights from what they're seeing from themselves.
And again, here's the odd thing, because Blueprint is last for me and my background was architecture, people figured I was somebody who worked to a list, worked to a budget, worked to a structure. And I'm like, no, I solved those things for other reasons. So I was an oddity in what I was doing. And people had a hard time trying to figure out, you're kind of like a squirrel going off in an odd direction, but you still seem to manage to hit budget deadlines, holding your team together, making sure the structure of what needed to be done was done. Not because it served me, but because it served the group I was working with. It served the product I was trying to develop and build. And when you start to see those shifts in ideas, you can see the difference between Lisa and I having the first two codes exactly the same, but the last two codes in reverse. And you start to understand that it's a dance among all four of them and how you learn to play with them to really make life exciting and fun and easier to integrate with everyone you encounter. Kathleen, you're on silent. It looked like you were saying something to the group.
Oh, I'm just saying fascinating. I'm looking through the chat and I'm like, we are all so different. And it's only 4 domains. Cristina, you were going to jump in as well. This is so fascinating. Yeah. And our disruptor style, what gets us disruptive, and then what's our style for going out and, managing in the world that's always disrupting.
Exactly.
Yeah. Cristina, passing over to you.
So first, I just want to give a shout out to Vinky. Hello, is that how you pronounce your first name?
Yes.
Hello, you and I have the same code. So hello. So Susan, one thing I wanted to ask you about the last letter. So my last letter is builder, and there are things that I do that are related to the sort of builder archetype. But what I found is I go into that mode when I am like really tired, like when my knowledge is exhausted, my nurturing is exhausted, my action is exhausted, and I'm just kind of like cocooning. And I just want to go in with my little building blocks off somewhere in a lab, and like, that's it. So can you elaborate a little bit about the last letter and its meaning?
We frequently say it's as important to know the last as it is the first, because those are the things you do not want to start the conversation with, because that's the thing that you are drawn to the least. It can frequently shut you down. However, it doesn't mean that it is of no use to you. Like you said, you have assessed that when you go into that blueprint mode, when you're looking for stability, structure, it's because everything else has been depleted from you, and you still understand the importance of it. What I love about this is that it is always honoring all 4 codes as important and equal in terms of worth and value. It is never saying, oh, I only want to work with actions because they're all the cool kids on the block. Heck no, you need those knowledge people that can create the box. You need those nurturing people that take care of the community And you need those blueprints that'll give you a checklist and really call you on the fact that, hey, you skipped a step and I'm lost. You really need to pull that whole function of all four together. And we all have all of them. None of us are without them. We just have them in a different mix. I jokingly say there's 24 combinations of this on an infinite scale, because the way we each dance with them, the way things in life have influenced us, allows us to look at them from a different perspective. And when you look at the fact that there are 12 words on each card that engage us, I might be drawn in nurturing to 3 words that you have no interest in, and might be drawn to 3 more on another card that are very important to you. So we start to align on certain aspects of all 4 things in different ways. But it's beautiful because it is still so simple to look at these words, and you have people who do not necessarily know psychology who can still look at these 4 terms and go, oh, this makes sense to me. I looked at it from a standpoint of, I've done a lot of things from an intuitive standpoint in terms of how I was working with people. And I would frequently say, I don't understand why you can't do it, because I know I can do it, but I can't explain it to you. And what I loved about this was the 4 terms and their values became an easier way for me to look at it with somebody else and say, now I see this in you. Now I understand this in you, so I can now share that with somebody else in a way that they will have it. It created that framework, that blueprint process that I didn't come by naturally, but once presented to me became an easy tool to work with. And I think that's where the dance of these becomes so beautiful.
Amen, sister. Can you ladies, let's put a little acknowledgement in the chat for Susan, and I'm just jumping in, Lisa, to disrupt things here. You know, you can see her thought leadership. You can experience that it just like rolls off of her presentation. You know, you're sharing. Susan, awesome. Little edification there for you, genuinely and authentically. Yes, that's the
And what
leader
I
I
love
see in
about
you.
this is we now have tools online that allow people to do this for themselves. And then we also do coaching and training that stretches this out over 12 weeks and really gives you a deep dive into the 6 intelligences that we talk about: the personality, sales, emotional intelligence, artificial intelligence, business intelligence, and spiritual intelligence. And when you start infusing it into every aspect of life, there's additional deeper ahas that allow you to look at what else am I wanting to disrupt and create in a positive manner. So yeah, happy to answer any questions for anybody after all of this.
Joan, jump in. You're on mute,
Okay.
Joan.
Okay. So, are you assuming that the person you're interacting with has taken the test?
Not always. Part of it with the training becomes what we call speed coding, this self-assessment that I do by seeing how somebody shows up. You know, Sheila always shows up really dressed fabulously, which tells me her action is pretty high, but she's always caring about people. So I know her nurturing is high too. So I'm going to always look at blending those 2 together, even though I didn't know her code. Somebody that shows up always asking questions gives me a clue that they tend to be knowledge. And we jokingly say you never can sell the knowledge because they have to vet it and sell themselves on something. So you start, as you look at this, to begin to unravel it just by seeing how people show up.
Okay. So to me, that means that you're allowing your intuition to kick in. It's like I test very high in emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
And so it's easy for me to tell how a person is feeling.
Yes.
And you know, I didn't have the letters, but I see that I use this, you know,
Yes.
and you can tell, you know, how the high techie people talk when I'm working with people who are doing back end work for me.
Right.
I can't talk to them the way I would talk to an empathetic woman. It's,
And,
you know,
and
you have to.
have the understanding of knowing how to change that for yourself. And that's that emotional intelligence. Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. Very much. Thank you, Joan, for all that wisdom you could share.
Great. Lisa, turning it back over to you, and
Awesome.
Susan, awesome. Yeah. Mwah.
So Joan, thank you for jumping in on that, right? The bank code gives us a structure and language, but these ideas and concepts, we all use them innately, right? The bank code has given us a structure that's clean, it's simple, and it's fast to understand. So it's a lot of fun. Joan, you and I had a conversation several months ago, and I talk about systems and process, and we were walking through what I do, and you said, "But Lisa, you're using very intuitive language." I'm learning, right, that's my more natural place to be, and that the systems and the process are skills and capabilities that I've learned to do work, and especially in my specific space. So on this exploration into disruption, one of the things that I wanted to do was make it actionable. And I do a lot of work with my clients in the innovation space and starting the thinking of constantly having a stream of new ideas coming in. And while I was working on things, I realized that I'm going to share for a second. Are you seeing the slide? Did it come up right? Awesome. That the innovation engine and experimentation is how we activate disruption. So as leaders, as people, right, everything starts with an idea. And we really want to always have a big list of ideas and go through an exercise on a regular basis to just sit down and give yourselves 10 minutes and write out a list of things you've always wanted to do. If you're doing it from your business perspective, if you're doing it your bucket list from your personal perspective, give yourself that time to create that list. When you're doing this from a business perspective, right, then take those ideas and other people's ideas and go through the ideation experience and pull all of those ideas together. The bigger, the more audacious, the more crazy, the better. There is absolutely no judgment in this. This is about what is possible, what is potential, no restrictions. And then with that group, start kind of vetting and prioritizing what might you want to play with. How would you want to experiment and see if it's viable? And in that group, you have the opportunity to pick one and prototype it. And there's no money involved in this prototyping, ladies. This is sitting down and just describing out what it is. And use the brilliance in the room to challenge your thinking, to support your thinking, to build on it, to grow from it. Because, right, like with our bank codes, we all have our behavioral profiles and how we show up that's different and unique. We want the people who think differently to question us, right? Somebody just saying, yeah, Carol, your idea is the best. You go, girl. It's encouraging, but is it really helpful? Right? We want some people in that space who will challenge and push us forward so we can play with that idea and prototype it. And if in that context it's starting to make sense, then let's experiment with it and make it real-ish. And take it to a group of customers, of former customers, of customers who are really happy with the work we did, and some that we may not have satisfied the way that we wanted to, and get some honest feedback. We might call that doing focus groups. There's lots of different ways of talking about it. You can throw it out on LinkedIn and just to your tribe as a whole. Share those ideas around and build on what works. Not every outcome is going to be exactly what you wanted it to be. Thanks to Trisha Ben, I am trying desperately to remove the word failure from my language, right? An experiment is based on the scientific method. If experiments didn't have outcomes that weren't expected, we would never get anywhere. We wouldn't have penicillin, right? So a failure is a learning opportunity. An unintended outcome is sometimes an exponential gain, right? So we're not looking for successes and failures. We're looking for learning moments and outcomes and things that we can repeat or things that we can leave and walk away from. This is a very basic description of an ideation and innovation process. All businesses should have them. We should do this for ourselves. When I put on the being disruptive hat, right, all it is being willing to challenge the status quo with that goal of making a positive impact. I'm going to stop sharing so that we can have more of a dialogue, if you're all comfortable with that, the visual. What I will share with you as we go into conversation, right? We are living an experiment in this room together. This idea started in March. It grew into the first interaction, which grew into a masterclass for activation. Everything that I do is an experiment. And I've fallen flat on my face more times than I care to admit. Literally on stage, it's happened. Elegance, grace, not always my strongest suits, and why I don't wear heels in public. But this idea, right? This is very actionable. And as business leaders, we should always, always, always have a funnel of things that we want to play with. How does that resonate? Does it make sense? Are there things that you're doing that are experiments?
Yeah, and Lisa, we're going to jump into some breakout rooms very soon so we can be thinking about this and getting some feedback during the breakout rooms. So we're all about practical application and activation here. So
Okay.
yeah, thank you. Turning it back.
Tina, go for it.
Okay, so I created this little list in order to fulfill a workshop, a class, a 3-month class. So this is the second one. The first one I actually filled. The second one, it says by July 7th, I have 2 people, not enough to make the group, right? So this was the idea, this was the visualization, this was the how are we going to get there, and we didn't get there. So now we're kind of pulling back and okay, how can we get there?
Mm-hmm.
Going back and trying different things that we've done before, or remembering, oh, right before the pandemic, we were on this path and it was actually looked really pretty good, and then we dropped it, but maybe we could pick it back up, and coming back and brainstorming. But again, looking at why this didn't happen, there wasn't enough energy, it was just me, it wasn't enough, blah, blah, blah. It didn't work. So, but we don't give up. That's the whole thing. We don't give up. So
absolutely. So going forward, you'll try a different way to get the message out, to build and amplify and get build the interest and engagement that you're looking for in ways that were different than what you tried for the July 7th group. Well, that's awesome, right? It's a learn and move. All right. So as we are continuing to adapt through all of this, Cristina, I'm going to throw it to you, because then we are going to go into breakout sessions because the number of people has grown so that we can have some smaller group conversation to really talk about activation. Cristina, you're on.
I was on. Sorry, everyone. Still, we stay on mute sometimes. So hi, everyone. Good to see you and welcome. And so, what I'm going to be presenting today is touching on some of the themes that have already been discussed, but actually really providing a level of depth and richness to these themes, as well as a way to actually practice the stuff, like how to actually make it real in your life, whether it's, just further contemplation, but actually doing it. So I'd like to share my screen. Okay, does everyone see that? Yes, okay, great. All right, so I am hitting you with an idea right now. We're gonna get into it, and I'm going to move fast because there's a lot of content, and I wanna give you guys as many practical ideas as possible, and then we can discuss. But if anyone can't hear a word or something, just like jump in. But the first thing that I want you to understand is that disruption is an expansive act. For better or worse, when something disrupts or interacts as an energy in the environment around it, it radiates. So we want to think about this notion of disruption, as Lisa had hinted, as not necessarily the kid in the back of the class, but like, how can we create a ripple effect in our lives that leads towards something positive? And so when I think about disruption, I think about it as an expansion of ourselves, an expansion of our minds, an expansion of our work. And so I'm going to share with you some practices to enable you to understand and practice this expansion in your life. Now, I'm actually really glad that there are a few people here who were not in the very first session, because I shared a poem that I found very meaningful in the notion of disruption and how we as women experience it. And I'm going to share it with you now. And by the way, all this stuff will be provided to you. So allow me to just read, and you can just sit and relax and just be mindful. It is said that before entering the sea, a river trembles with fear. She looks back at the path she has traveled, from the peaks of the mountains, the long winding road crossing forests and villages, and in front of her, she sees an ocean so vast that to enter, there seems nothing more than to disappear forever. But there is no other way. The river cannot go back. Nobody can go back. To go back is impossible in existence. The river needs to take the risk of entering the ocean, because only then will fear disappear. Because that's where the river will know. It's not about disappearing into the ocean, but of becoming the ocean. And I just wanted to set the stage and set the tone with this invocation for us, because what we're going to be talking about is some of the catalysts of disruption that you can actually enact. So, when you think about the river going into the ocean, it takes a few twists and turns. There's some things that happen. One, you may question things. Two, you have to think for yourself. You're kind of, you're on your own sometimes in this kind of expansive journey. Sometimes you have to activate, you have to actually do something. And there's maybe a level of risk involved. And, you may hit some rapids along the way. And you may experience something that, feels like a failure. And, how can you welcome that? And finally, before you enter into this ocean, before you move into this expansion, there's a process to that. You came from somewhere. You did something before that got you to that place. And so what I'm going to get into are 3 of these catalysts and give you these practices. Okay. So the first is, after 10 years of being a philosopher and working with many people and practicing philosophy in my own life, I've come to the realization that there is a major disruptive force in the universe. And to me, the most disruptive force in the universe is the question. The question, the notion of a question, gave us pretty much everything we know or experience. What we know about ourselves, what we know about our minds, what we know about animals and space and all these things came because of the beginning of a question. And science has kind of caught up to what the sages have known all along. Asking a question actually has positive benefits in your mind and for your brain. Studies show that it increases the chances that you'll actually act on your intentions. So if you approach something new, you want to be disruptive, you want to start asking questions about it. It also immediately stops your mind from multitasking. So if you're in sort of this kind of chaotic thinking, or it's feeling like you're in a lot of movement, stop and ask what's going on. Ask what's happening. Inquire, because immediately your mind will focus on the answer or trying to answer that question, and you stop multitasking. So again, you want to focus, ask question. And then finally, studies also show that when you ask a question, it triggers something in your brain that releases serotonin. And serotonin is a hormone that affects your mood and it actually relaxes you. So asking questions actually relaxes you. So while the question has brought us many things and disrupted so much, it's actually something that is very, very beneficial for ourselves. And so when I was thinking about this, I was like, all right, well, how can people bring more questions into their lives? How can they use this as a tool for disruption or change or expansion? Two very simple things. First, start your day with a question, right? So remember, your mind is all in the morning. Maybe you're thinking about your to-do list. Okay, what am I doing today is not an expansive question, right? You are thinking already in sort of an outcome-driven place. Where you want to be is a place that's more thoughtful, more open, something that enables you to feel like you are in the driver's seat as opposed to the to-do list driving you. So I have a few sample questions. These are questions I start my day with, and I have to say, in 5 minutes, my outlook completely changes. So the first question, I've used this before, is what is the world for me now? So as you're getting up, or you take a moment, even while you're brushing your teeth, the answer may be Colgate, but anyway, ask yourself, what is the world for me now? And just allow the moment to happen. The second question I ask is, how can I be of service today? So when you are in the mindset of service, where are you not? In your head. You're thinking of other people. You're thinking about how you can contribute to the world. And immediately creates these feelings of goodwill. The last question, very important question, when do we ever really truly ask what we need? So a lot of times I ask myself, what do I need? What do I need right now? Sometimes it's a walk. Sometimes it's study. Sometimes it's, oh, well, I got to mentally prepare for that thing. And it just gives you the space that allows you to feel more in control. The second idea is to start a meeting with a question. Start a conversation with a question. That's the beauty of questions, is it creates a space where more knowledge and insight can come through. So some questions you can ask is, well, you can actually say, I have a question, and ask the question, right? And just open up the conversation that way. Or what do we know or not know? Like, that's big. You put that on your team, or you put that out to a colleague, or a pitch, or a potential client. What do you not know? And it immediately changes the nature of the interaction. And again, finally, a riff on what do I need? What do you need? What do you need? When you ask people this, it's like everything shifts, everything changes, because they're like, oh, wow, you actually care about something that I need and want to know more about it. Okay, so that's how to catalyze with questions. Next idea. And Lisa touched on this a little bit in her presentation. I'm glad she sort of set the stage when she said failure is not an option. I have some news for you. Some news. Newsflash. Failure doesn't exist. And you're probably like, holy crap, that's weird. What is going on? How is this possible? Allow me to explain. This has been my experience. And what I'm actually working towards making sure that I am practicing this idea all the time. So the way I define failure, and this is my own definition, feel free to go look it up in Webster's, but my experience with failure is that it's an idea your mind conjured up in reaction to an external circumstance that quote unquote failed your expectations. Your expectations were dashed and your mind is like, oh, well, that's a failure, right? So how many times do we think something is going to happen or that we want to happen that never happens the way we think it's going to happen? That's because expectations sometimes don't match reality at all. Or your expectations are more limited in scope than what life is trying to show you, than what reality wants to show you. So when you have expectations and thoughts, they're sometimes not real. They're just not real. And therefore, if something failed, it failed your expectations, it failed something that's not real. Therefore, failure isn't real. It's just an idea. And so I say all of this, and again, this is heady stuff, but there's a really great practice that I use every day as many times as I need to, and that is welcome failure. Welcome failure by seeing the lesson in everything. And I put this on a post-it note all the time. And I do this. I remind myself that everyone and everything that's in front of me is my teacher. That's how I look at my dashed expectations. You know, that bummed me out. Oh, wait a second. Everything and everyone that's in front of me is my teacher. Because when you're in control of how you react to circumstances, you're in control of the false reality of failure. It's a false reality. And therefore, you have not failed. You haven't failed. Okay, moving on. So, and again, you're going to get all this stuff afterwards. So finally, I wanted to share this third idea. And I want to tell you a story. I had a client, Jen, and she was experiencing this situation where she was never satisfied when she achieved something. So Lisa, she did the bucket list thing. She did the, and she did stuff. She was able to achieve and accomplish. But whenever she felt accomplished, she always wanted more, which is okay to continue to move the goalposts. But what was happening was it was at the expense of her being appreciative of the achievements. And so therefore, when she ever landed on something new, she was always kind of dissatisfied. She was like, oh, is that it? Because she was in judgment of her capabilities. And so what we discovered is that she still, as she hit every milestone was like, oh, is that it? And so it was this like compounding pattern of judgment of all of her past achievements that she didn't appreciate where she had come from. So she was damning a part of herself and her life that actually contributed and was a significant part of her present. And so I realized we need to do something. And I came up with this concept of love the before. And we did this exercise called Love the Before. So let me explain what the concept is. Where you are now, there was someone who did something before. In your expansion, in your process of expansion, you don't leave that before person behind. You expand out of them. You expand beyond them. But you don't lose them when you evolve. You don't just discard them. You expand out of it. And it's still a part of you. But if you hate or regret that part of you, anything that happens in your expansion doesn't feel right. So this picture that I have here is the before you in the center. And as you evolve, you continue to expand around it and out and out and out and out. It's still a part of you. So in order for us to feel like we are changing and we are moving into an expansion, and in order to appreciate our achievements, we have to love who we were before. So this exercise is really about, all of those regrets, which, by the way, regret is another idea your mind has conjured up in reaction to an external circumstance that didn't meet your expectations. That's regret too. And so the regrets that we have, or I'm not where I'm supposed to be, or I'm not who I want to be, or why the heck did I do that? Why did I treat my 20s like a carnival ride? I should have been working and achieving. My ex is a jerk. Why did I ever go out with them? Or that was a bad move. Whatever those things are, love them. Love them all. Love them all. And what I've done, what I did with Jen, and what I've done with myself, because let me tell you, ladies, I am no saint. I have sat down and written out on one side all the things that I regret. And on the other side of the piece of paper, I wrote, I love you, or I love that, or that's okay, I love it. And something happens. You begin to feel a lot better about the past and you reconcile. And so therefore now when I have an achievement or when I experience expansion, I'm like, yes, because no matter what, whatever happened before got me here. So to recap, question, lots of questions. It's disruptive. Failure doesn't exist. Let everybody else think that they've failed. You do not fail because you know it doesn't exist. That's disruptive. And love the before, because as you move into your expansion, loving who you were before is part of that process and will strengthen your ability to see your achievements when you experience them. That's it. Thank you.
Cristina, you are so brilliant.
Awesome. Woo!
Oh my gosh, love it always.
Thank you.
So
And
heartfelt
Kathleen,
too. Yeah.
you put together with Cristina, Susan, and myself, right? 3 very different personalities, 3 very different approaches. And what we've built over the last, working on this 60 days, exponential growth for me as a human being. Thank you guys.
Me too.
No, it's
So much love.
Thank you. Yeah. The power
And
of
thank
the
you for everybody
sisterhood.
who's here,
Yeah.
who
Beautiful.
have been observers and witnesses and participants and supporters in this. So much love. You too, Vinky, my code pal. We cannot, do this without you. We love you so much.
Thank you. And I'm just curious, as a quick poll here, how many of you have seen the growth and the expansion and the new ideas and the new creativity, especially from Lisa, Susan, and Cristina, this in the last couple months? Yeah. So witnessing them and this, this whole body of work that they're now taking out to the world started with International Women's Day, that we came together and Lisa noticed we couldn't really come up with in the moment disruptive women that were really world-class historical disruptors in the moment. We were coming up with mothers and grandmothers and sisters and ourselves. And of course, Elon and Jeff Bezos and all of these. And it's like, we were looking for women disruptors, and we were trying to move out of the political realm into societal. So all of this, these three ladies like took this as a body of work and went, hey, we have something to say. So there we go. So let's jump into a very quick breakout, if that's okay with you. And let's just talk about, like, personally, how we're going to use today and the idea of being more disruptive and to enact positive change. So how are we going to take this? Because I'll tell you, we in the Women's Leadership Council, we don't just get together and say, oh, that was really a nice, masterclass. No, we're like, how do we apply it? How do we make a difference? How do we monetize it and use it? Literally for 8 minutes, I'm going to open up the breakout rooms very quickly. This will probably be the most, this could be the turning point in what you're thinking for what's next. So go into a breakout room with Susan, Lee, Cristina. And if you see one of the rooms is really filled up, jump into one of the other rooms. And the topic is, how are you going to use what you've learned today as a next step? What is the project you're working on, the initiative, the insight, the thought? How are you going to take it to the next level? Okay. And what does the next level mean? Okay. So let's open up the breakout rooms, literally 8 minutes. And, Cristina, Lisa, and Susan are going to like keep this moving. All right. So jump in. I'm going to time and we'll come back in 8 minutes. Okay. Mwah. So choose a room behind each door. Thank you. Thank you. It's working. Great. Thank you.
Is this us?
Yeah. You know what? Do you want to join? Looks like I think you can choose at the bottom. You should have the opportunity to choose a breakout. Do you want to go in, Susan?
Just put me anywhere, Kathleen.
I love it. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Beautiful. And I think it'll say join. Okay, great. So Susan, Cristina, Lisa, what were some emerging themes? And put in the chat too, ladies, what's emerging for you? And by the way, I'm teeing this up. We're going to have a one-word takeaway or phrase when we complete this in just a couple slides. Okay, so be thinking about your one word or phrase as well. So we get everybody's voice in here. So jump in. What were a couple themes? Cristina, Susan, jump in, please.
So I was with Binky, my code and outfit pal.
Amazing.
Andrea and Kimberly. And it was really about making a difference. That disruption
Excellent.
for them was about making a difference and having a positive impact, because they are all amazing do-gooders. Every single one of them is doing work in the nonprofit space. So imagine it's like our group, there were 3 people who were doing work in the nonprofit space, all in their sort of respective way. And so what I feel is disruption is positive disruption and making a difference in the world.
Thank you. Thank you. Beautiful. Beautiful. Susan, how about you and Lisa? What were some highlights, big picture takeaways?
I was with the beautiful Deb and Tina and Annalie, and each one of them has exciting things that they're looking at doing. Tina's going after being a TED Talk and looking at how she can take programs to different programs so that they get CEUs for their profession.
Ooh.
And Deb is looking at how she can take what she's learning about bank code and work with her team in order to create things in a more positive way and move them faster, because it's an action. She wants to go big and get going with things. And Annalie is dealing with the disruption of what this week has been, being in a climate that has gone from normal to chaos heat for her, and then launching her program that starts in September. So looking at putting all those things together. So everybody's in a creation mode is, I think, the best way to put it. It's that creating what is better and bigger. And I love it.
Excellent, excellent. Lisa, thank you.
So
Jump in. Yeah.
absolutely. Sheila, Carol, Joan, and I had a great conversation. Carol and Joan are both starting journeys to do new things. Carol described going through being the process of being disrupted, but is now actually getting ready to turn the corner and lead it through, and looking for those outcomes and creating online coursework. Joan's getting ready for another book and wanting to do it in a way that was different than before, but in the journey, right? Learning that what she thought she wanted and what she really might need aren't always the same thing. And Sheila shared with us, that we actually, for the first time, that, the aha, that there's a process and there are steps to things that we can work through so that we can keep the creativity engine running, and that can become our way of being disruptive.
Very brilliant.
Outstanding conversations.
Woo! Excellent. Excellent. Good. So let's, yeah, please.
I've got a
jump
quick
in.
note. I just put in the chat this morning. I was listening to Brene Brown and her sisters talking about life. And one of the things they talked about was self-compassion and how much we really need that in order to move ourselves past those things that might hold us back. And she mentioned Cristina Neff has a book on self-compassion. And what I noticed is she has a brand new book called Fierce Self-Compassion, How Women Can Harness Kindness to Speak Up, Claim Their Power, and Thrive. And I thought, boy, doesn't that go to how we can disrupt in a positive way. So I put that in the chat for anybody who might find it interesting to add to their summer reading list.
It's so timely, and perhaps she was inspired by our discussion and what we're doing and wrote this book in record time. So anyway, if you would agree that there's something powerful that is really emerging, give me some sparkle fingers here, because things are emerging on the planet, especially for women. So perfect. Yeah, jump in.
One thing for us entrepreneurs, I have been on my own for the last 38 years, so I have not worked for anybody in all those years. And so I have been through these, cycles through my business. And every time I get to one of these troughs, okay, that's the thing that propels me towards that disruption. What's the next thing? Okay, so this isn't working. What's the next thing that I have to do? Creating new possibilities all the time. And I think that, as entrepreneurs, we have to be able to kind of do our best in a world that is not, a paycheck every week. So yeah, Lisa, that kind of speaks to a lot of it.
And it does very directly, Tina, right? The idea is, right, as you're going on that upswing, you're still generating new ideas because, right, the sine wave, right? We want to level that out. And so if there's constantly new ideas coming in, you can have growth curve after growth curve and try and mitigate the trough. That's the idea.
Yeah.
You betcha, lady.
Yeah. So isn't this the definition of transformation and taking action as well? Cristina, you were going to jump in as well.
Well, Tina, you just said something, I don't know, it just really resonated with me. First of all, I respect the hell out of you. So it's kind of like whatever.
Word. And everyone here, right?
When Tina speaks, people listen. But there was something that you just said, Tina, about when you're in the trough and it's up to you to create your thing, right? And I feel like I've just experienced that because I'm starting a council, the Philosopher's Council, completely new thing. Thank you. And for a really long time, and some of you may know this, I may have mentioned this to you in a different meeting, but for a really long time, one of my dreams was to, be a chief philosophy officer at a corporation. I had what if Google wants me to be their chief philosophy? And I realized when I started the council, I was like, wait a second. Why do I have to wait for Google to tell me I'm a chief philosophy officer?
There you go.
I'm just going to call myself a chief philosophy officer. Like I'm
Yes.
running this,
Name it
I'm
and
the
claim
sa-
it, Christina. Name
right?
it and claim it.
And so what you said, Tina, really resonated with me because I realized that's what I just did. That thing that you just talked about
Yes.
is what I just did. And I double checked, and I'm going to triple check this before I really go out and say this. I am the first chief philosophy officer that has ever existed. Talk about disruption.
Woo!
Talk about really disrupting. So, again, I'm going to triple check that. But so for me, I'm just having that experience of what you're talking about, Tina, is creating it for
And
myself.
I'm doing a hot seat next week because I found myself in this trough. I've been really successful the last year and a half. It's been awesome, but I can look ahead. And if I don't do something,
Yeah,
Yes.
it's
I
not going to
get it.
right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm feeling that, Tina. I really am. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Awesome. So timely that here we go. Part of this too is, to really look at, experiencing, like you're saying, Tina, and also Christina, is, to stop and take a pause as we're in this roller coaster, this period of life, this season of life, or whatever it is, that we can be at the effect of things, or we can affect and change things. So be thinking about, all the time, this self-examination of what are some big themes, what are some takeaways, and of course, the C-Suite Network always says, and we're going to wind down here in just a moment, is we don't have to be the smartest woman in the room. That's a lot of pressure, but we can be the most strategic, and we must be the most strategic. So activate your power. We've all got this tremendous power. Get your seat at the table of your choice, and continue to reiterate being confident, adding value, expecting success, and demanding it. Those are some of our basic values. And of course, as we always complete the Women's Leadership Council of the C-Suite Network, we're better together in a pack, right? The power of the pack is in the wolf, and the strength of the wolf is in the pack. So it's an omega infinity sign. So always very, very important. And, even as I love Wonder Woman, in that she needed a sisterhood. She needed a council. So if you're not yet a member, come join us. Come join us. We are up to some amazing, amazing things. Things are happening. Founding membership for the Women's Leadership Council is merely $499. And, we want you to join. It's over a whole year. Go to the link and we'll be following up with the link for each of you. And, come join us, become a formal member. More's happening. Like, this is our launch year. So once we're launching, we're moving into tremendous momentum. And if you see that momentum is happening, give me a little thumbs up give me a little thumbs up. Momentum is happening. We are moving. Okay. And oh my gosh, here we go. We've moved. So much momentum is happening that I clicked on the link. I clicked on the link, ladies, and we're going to stop sharing. I was so excited that I clicked on the link to have you register right now. So this is disruption. Maybe that was a subliminal kind of thing, right? All right. Ha ha, tee hee, right? All right. And of course, let's go in and talk about that. The next thing is, once you're a member, we've got these interactive gatherings. We've got all kinds of good stuff going on. And we are so delighted to feature our July interactive gathering on Council Day. So Women, Wealth, and Worth. What's love got to do with it? So how cool is that? We're going to be channeling our inner Tina Turner, right? What's love got to do with it, right? So take yourself off mute here. Come on, let's get in unison as we finish up here. And let's get in unison and tell me, What's love got to do with it? Come on. What's
What's
love?
love? Got a second
and
emotion. I knew you were going to
emotion.
ask us to sing that.
So we're going to start off our next session with what's love got to do with it. So be thinking, start to download the song. We're going to have a little fun with that, a little twist on things.
Hey,
And
Kathleen,
yes.
sorry to interrupt, but if I'm mistaken, Andrew, who is with us today, is also speaking at is Women Wealth.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's it. Andrea, Claudia, and Dr. Kelly Shue. They're all going to be talking about it. So yes, because we feature our faculty and our members, and we're activating the heck out of it. And of course, this weekend the website is going up for our amazing retreat. Friday through Sunday, faculty's coming together, esteemed faculty on Friday. We're going to do some tremendous work setting the values and what's next for the Women's Leadership Council. And we're going to be doing some hot seats as well. But Saturday and Sunday are for members and faculty together. We're doing the iFly experience, and it's going to be awesome. Okay, so let's get off these slides and let's get back to you. What's your one word takeaway, one sentence takeaway from today? What's a takeaway? We want to hear back from you. Who's the first? I say
I'll go.
power.
There I am
jump in.
leaping in with my A.
That's right.
I love what Sheila said, creating better and bigger.
Love it. Yes, exactly. Now's our time, ladies. Now is our time. Not tomorrow, not yesterday. Now. Thank you. Good. Who's next? What's your takeaway? Big insight from today. Susan, jump in. One more time.
Fierce creation. Going at it all in.
Love it. Who's next? Jump in.
Be brave.
Love it, Andrea. Be brave. Woohoo! We don't know where you are, but we are digging your background, and we know that you are blending this great life of vacay, working outside, all good. Very nice. Thank you. Who's next? Takeaway from today. Thank you, Carol.
Start your day with a question.
Woohoo! Love it. And the power of the question. Good. Kimberly, jump in. Anna Lee, Joan.
Momentum.
Momentum. Thank you. Woohoo!
Go for it.
Go for it. Yes, Joan, with lots of intuition, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And worthiness. Yes. Good. Thank you. Who's next? Vinky, come on in. Annalie, come in.
Love and compassion. I think once your heart is filled with love and you're compassionate, everything and anything is possible in this world.
Brilliant. Lots of love to you. So nice.
For me, it's reminding myself of really focusing on my priorities.
That's it. Great. And in this split second, Annalie, our priority is you. Putting the love and the focus on you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And then on the collective, of course. Good. Thank you. Who's next? Tina, jump in. Takeaway from today. Sheila.
I love the question. The question, one of the nicest things anybody said to me, she says, you don't tell me what to do, you just ask good questions.
And
Thanks
brilliant.
for bringing that.
Thank you. Good. Sheila, jumping in.
Yeah, activation on the list of big ideas. Right. That for me, that was I loved that. And then Cristina, I love the before. Right. That's so hard for all of us on a lot of different aspects. But that's really going to help me with a lot of my client work as well, because there's a lot of baggage that people come with. And I can't make you visually pleasing if you don't love the inside first. So we have to bring that out. So I loved that. Thank you.
Beautiful. Great. Thank you. Thank you. Very nice. Lisa, jump in. And I think Cristina, the last two. Takeaway from today.
I'm so grateful for the conversation, for the dialogue, this group of women being here together on a two kind of part journey, and especially give Cristina, Susan, Kathleen, you for giving us the platform to amplify this message. Thank you all. I'm grateful.
Thank you. Yes, great. Cristina, your takeaway.
Creation.
Love it. Love it. Yes, yes. Everybody got their voice in here, I think. Yeah, yeah. So with that, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being present. And your presence is a gift to all of us, and most importantly, to yourself. So with that, I love you. I thank you. Can't wait to see you in another week. Come join us. We
Thank
want you and we
Kathleen.
love you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kathleen, for setting the presence.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Great. Bye, ladies. Have an
a beautiful
awesome day. Get
Bye-bye.
disruptive. Be disruptive. Bye-bye. Thank you. Okay, it's just us.
You want to turn the recording off?
I'd be delighted to.